So welcome back to my series looking at how we are experiencing lockdown here in Fermanagh. The last few months have just been incredible, and is it any wonder that we are experiencing so many different emotions? We have never experienced anything like this before, and there's been just so much uncertainty about what the next steps are going to be. So I'm on my way to talk to Niall Greene, who's a counsellor based here in Fermanagh, and I want to know how his clients are feeling at this time, and also what are some of the things that he's observed through this time in lockdown.
Well, at the beginning, I think everybody was just in shock, that nobody knew what was happening, including myself. I was, kind of had to process this myself before I could engage with clients, so talking in supervision and, talking to other counsellors and how they were going to manage it, so having to explain to clients that you'd already been seeing that we were no longer going to be able to see them face to face. So there was an anxiety in that in itself, and then making that transition from face-to-face work to working online with clients. So there seemed to be, for the first couple of weeks, everything shut down. There was just an anxiety. Everybody was feeling it, and then I think it was into maybe the second week, people started to re-engage with their therapy again, and they were talking about these having these waves of anxiety and panic and stuff as well. For other clients that were experiencing that had OCD, this was almost like validation for their condition, so washing your hands, that was the thing that was encouraged all the time. So this was probably for them, almost like a positive thing that the traits that they have, their ongoing traits that aren't healthy, were now being validated, and it was a useful thing to have OCD, I suppose, at that time. I kind of had the sense that at the beginning of this was going to get worse as it went on, and that's what I have seen over the last couple of weeks. We have a lot of people coming looking for help. There's relationship breakdowns in families, increased alcohol consumption, depression, anxiety, and again the clients that have OCD haven't left the house in like 12, 13 weeks, and again, all of this isn't healthy in the long term. So there really is that sense that mental health of people is starting to get increasingly worse. Another thing, locally, there has been an increased rates of suicide in the area, so that's something that we really need to be considering, and ensuring that there's enough support available for people in the area. Nobody wants to take their life. That is the last thing that any person wants to do. It happens because the person often feels that there is no other option, that from their own perspective they cannot find any other way out of the difficulties that they're going through. Sadly, the therapy often doesn't come into the person's mind at that time, that therapy or counselling or coaching or reaching out to your GP or community mental health team. The person often believes that that won't help, or maybe they have engaged in therapy before, and maybe it was a therapist or a type of form of therapy that didn't suit the individual's needs. So again, it's about you know, encouraging people to reach out, you know, that that this suicide doesn't have to be the answer. There is help available, and if you find the right therapist, or even find the right person to hear the difficulty that you're going through, that there is a way. You can literally walk through anything, you know, in your life. So, and yeah, and again, I have worked with clients that within a few sessions, the person has went from being, you know, suicidal, had been, you know, maybe even multiple suicide attempts over a period of time, and within a few sessions, all that type of thinking is gone. Now, there are other clients that it's ongoing therapy sessions that they need to get to that point. But again, it just depends on the individual, but it really, really does work. And I suppose the core of the type of therapy that I would do is, it's all about the relationship that you have with yourself. So improving that core relationship that you have with yourself. And so it's about identifying the thought processes, or the things that the individual says to themselves, and helping them to recognise, you know, like, for example, a thought might be, you'd just be better off dead. So if you imagine you saying that to yourself, and then asking the client, would you ever say that to somebody else? You know, would you ever say to somebody else, you'd be better off dead? And they often go, no, I'd never say that to anybody else. So why do you say that to yourself? So first of all, you identify the patterns of thinking that aren't working, and then working towards then changing that. So obviously, the other part of that is identifying the source of these thoughts. So we go into early childhood and try and find out, you know, where the thought patterns came from, and you're also then working with past, present, and then working towards the future as well, you know. So I often, when I'm working with clients, to talk about, you know, suppressed emotions. If you think of it being like air going into a balloon, and the air goes into the balloon, and the more emotions that you suppress, the air goes into the balloon and gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually, you know, enough air goes in, it's going to pop. So that's where you have this emotional release of tension, and it gets directed outwards, and usually at the people that you love and care about. So again, counselling allows the person to talk about how they feel. So the more you can talk about how you feel, the air gets released out of the balloon in a more manageable way. So there's less chance of you having that pop. You know, people are struggling with the practical things of life, paying their bills, paying their mortgage, their rent, or whatever, because they've no way of making an income, and the government support that is available is often not enough, or too hard to get, you know, to allow people to survive. So what I would say in relation to any of this stuff is there are supports available. So whether you're struggling financially, it's reaching out to somebody, you know, that has expertise, and can, you know, whether it's a financial advisor or your accountant, whatever, to guide you on how to manage your finances, or some sort of careers advisor to kind of help you to change direction, or just and also being yeah, that's the thing as well. People often have their sense of self tied up in their career. So I am a musician, I am a sound director, and that's who I am, rather than I am a person who the job or your career is just a part of who you are. I remember in a previous life, you know, so I used to work as a bricklayer, and in 2007, 2008, the construction industry just shut down, And a lot of people who identified themselves as bricklayers or plumbers or whatever, or joiners, the work just shut down, and some people were able to just get on, find another job, because their sense of self wasn't tied up in the job that they had started when they were 17 or 18. So they were able to adapt and find another job. While other people who viewed themselves as their career, I am a plumber, I am a bricklayer, or whatever it is, they struggled to make that transition, and were out of work for a long time because they just viewed themselves from that perspective. So again, it's about being creative and open-minded and willing to change and adapt during this time. Now, that's not saying, when things pick up again, that you can't go back into that role again, but it's about being able to change with the times as well. So, there are supports available, and there's lots of great counsellors in the Fermanagh area that and lots of different types of therapy as well. And what I would encourage people to do is to reach out and give it a go. Or if you're struggling with addiction related problems, whether it's alcohol problems, gambling, eating disorders, whatever, there's support groups available online that you can via Zoom, and people are getting really good support online that only because of all this has been created because of the pandemic. And the thing as well that people have been struggling with is we have lots of ways of avoiding how we feel. Our jobs and our careers and our hobbies are often a way of avoiding how we feel about ourselves. Like you'll see people that are working, all hours, and then you see the same people running, and that's often, they're running away from how they're feeling about themselves. So all of a sudden, now everything being shut down, there's no job, there's no, you're only allowed a limited amount of maybe outside exercise. So all you're left with is yourself, and the reasons why you've been running all this time start to come to the surface. So you're forced to either find a new coping mechanism, which is often maybe not a healthy coping mechanism, can be alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, or you can find, do some work on yourself and try and improve the relationship that you have with yourself. So if it is self-loathing that you've been experiencing, using this time to find out why it is that you've been feeling like this, or if you're struggling with relationships with people that you love, and this is an ongoing thing, can be a time to change all of that and to improve your relationships with yourself and others.